on a mission trip, you expect to do a lot of great things for the Lord. When you get on that plane and you land and you get off into the airport, you think you're going to do some awesome things, or you expect a lot of awesome things to happen. When I went to Russia, God just did crazy things. He did amazing things, but things that I didn't expect. When I got off the plane, I see armed guards with guns and it just wasn't what I expected at all. And then finally, when we get to the place that we're going, we open this tiny little gate, and it's just totally not what I expected at all. There's just run-down houses and people using water bottles as squirt guns with little holes at the top. It's just interesting. I didn't expect that at all. When I got there, this one little girl caught my eye, and she came up to me and just grabbed my hand for about 2 hours. She just would not let go, and she just clung on to me. And it was then that I realized that I was there for, I wasn't there for myself. I wasn't even there for them per se. I was there for Jesus, because Jesus was there, and he was wanting these children to be ministered to, and he wanted to use me, which was such a humbling experience. I can't even describe it to you. It's just God working through you, and it was amazing. And then I was there for 2 days, and then these kids left. The one thing I'll never forget is their faces. I may forget everything else about that trip, but the one thing I'll never forget is their faces. The other thing you expect when you go on a mission trip is that you think the people around you, you're all going to work together, and you're all going to really be a team. And a lot of times that's not true. A lot of people actually, sometimes you actually end up arguing, and the enemy wants you to be distracted by that. Thankfully, when we were in Russia, it didn't happen that way. We really stuck as a team, and it was really good. And the translators and everybody were just so awesome, and the gospel went forth. But one of the things that I remember the most was this cabin that I was in with a bunch of guys, a bunch of teenage boys who had this ringleader who really just would not submit to any authority whatsoever. And throughout the week, eventually, one by one, each of the boys in the cabin gave their lives over to Jesus, except for this one kid. And the last day of camp, I grab a translator and I go over, and we sit down, and I tell him the gospel one more time. Just explain the gospel to him and ask if he wants to give his life over to Christ. And like I said before, you expect to do awesome things for the Lord when you go on a mission trip, and you expect people to be saved and just awesome things to happen. What happened next, I didn't expect to happen. This kid who really hated everybody and who didn't want to submit to anybody told me that he didn't want to give his life over to Christ, at least not this year, but maybe in the future. But then he told me this, and in English he said, "John, my friend forever," and gave me a hug. And that meant so much to me, because God had been moving in his heart. Whether or not he gave his life over to him or not, God had been moving in his heart. And from day one to where he hated everybody and wouldn't submit to any authority, to all of a sudden come to the point where he calls me his friend, is a huge move of God. I can't ignore that. It was amazing. So I guess when you go on a mission trip, expectations can be blown out of the water. And God will work in ways you never expected him to.